I am a big fan of JRPGs, but that wasn't always the case. I'm pretty sure the first game of the genre that I saw was Final Fantasy VII, a revolutionary title that excited plenty of people with its graphics, music, story, and gameplay. Of course, a few of these things wouldn't be turning heads these days, but when the PlayStation 1 was new, this was stunning stuff. Plenty of people had their first exposure to JRPGs with this title, and it's what helped the genre gain mainstream appeal. A cool friend and his cool older brother showed it to me at their house, and I wasn't too impressed. Sure, it was a big, major graphical upgrade from the NES bootlegs that I had at my house, but the content of the game didn't interest me. My limited knowledge of English left me clueless as to what was going on, and the battles were so confusing to me. You walk and a fight starts? Your characters and the enemies take turns? Numbers just pop up in the air? Is this a math game? Excuse me, but if I'll want to learn math, I'll stick with Rayman Brain Games. Thank you very much. Yeah, little kid me couldn't really get the appeal of Final Fantasy VII. I needed something to bridge the gap between NES platformers and turn-based RPGs, and the game to serve that role for me was Legend of Mana. It was a spin-off in the Seiken Dentetsu series, produced by Akitoshi Kawazu, creator of the Saga series, and it was quite different from the predecessors in the franchise, but at the same time, nothing of all that meant anything to me. What I saw was a colorful game with some incredible music and interesting gameplay. You pick whenever you want to be a boy or a girl. You select a starting weapon of choice, give yourself a name, which was not something I had to do in any other video game up till that point. I did not know what to go with, so I kept using the random name generator until I landed on Kevin. I think I picked it because I remembered Kevin from Ed, Edd and Eddy. So yeah, before Farrell, before Karen, before John Doronzo, there was Kevin.
What are you guys doing?
What?
Nothing.
Dorks.
Dorks?
Then you select a part of the map where you'll want to play, and then you place a mailbox, which summons forth your home. And we get this beautiful video sequence. The opening to FF7 may have started a new chapter in gaming, but this opening started a new chapter in my life. Back then, I wasn't able to tell that the lyrics were not Japanese but Swedish. All that mattered to me was that it sounded beautiful and moved me to tears, as it does till this very day. was all followed by a lengthy bit of text that I didn't understand at the time, so let's just skip it. We wake up, explore the house, go around and find nothing. There is no big overarching narrative, no lengthy expositions, you're just allowed to explore on your own. Eventually, you'll talk to this little plant thing and it'll give you the color blocks, which you can then place on the world map, and it'll create the city of Domina, which you can visit. It may seem very surreal, but you're sort of able to piece things together at this point. The opening sequence depicted pieces of land being lifted up and turned into artifacts, and you've summoned both your home and the city of Domina by placing artifacts on the ground, so you accept this as a logical thing in this game's world. Following that, you enter the city and are free to explore it. And at this time, there's two things to potentially do. You can start a quest at the tavern by picking specific dialogue options where you head off to save a missing girl, or you can assist this anthropomorphic rabbit merchant on his journey through a highway. There's even a neat bit where if you pick the wrong dialogue options in the first quest, the guy will run off all angry, and once you start the other quest, the guy will pester you on the world map, potentially pulling you back into his quest. Whichever quest you'll do, you'll gain a new artifact. Use it to create a new dungeon where eventually you'll fight a boss. And afterwards, the quest will conclude and you'll get some new artifacts as a reward, which expands the list of potential quests that you can embark on. And with that, you know the basic formula of the game. New artifacts unlock new locations with new quests. The game is mostly a series of self-contained stories, but there are exceptions. Some quests are part of lengthy quest chains requiring the completion of other quests to continue. There's also some that unlock quite important features like the talking tree in your backyard that can grow fruit for you, the monster ranch to raise your own monster companions, the golem workshop, the forge for your blacksmithing needs, or the instrument workshop, which can help you with magic. With the vast number of possible routes one can take, it would be possible to miss out on some of these, but it's not a real problem. At its core, Legend of Mana is a simple button-mashing action RPG, so not having some of these unlocked won't cripple you into a state of helplessness. Of course, I didn't have this problem as I played the game using a guide, which listed all the quests and explained to me where I had to go and what I had to do to get stronger. I know people who think that this is the most awful way to play a video game, that you should explore and complete everything on your own, but in my defense, I had a very weak grasp of English at the time, so it wouldn't have worked otherwise. Plus, the game isn't very clear on stuff. For example, that rabbit merchant tells you to visit Tipo. Who is Tipo? Where does he live? No clue. If you don't use a guide, you have to run around and find him on your own. I understand that to some this can be entertaining, but in a game where you could start a quest, potentially take a break, do other stuff, and then return and forget everything with only a vague note in your quest log with no clue where you were in that specific quest, it can potentially get difficult to complete these. It reminds me of the quest structure in Final Fantasy XI, and wouldn't you know it, a few of the people who worked on Final Fantasy XI have worked on Legend of Mana before. So who knows, maybe this PlayStation title really did prepare me for what was to come in the future. This even applies to the multiplayer aspect, as the second player could control your companions during the quests. I remember at the time some reviewers complained that the second player couldn't do that much. You cannot switch their gear, their skills, their spells, and you cannot even transition to other areas on your own or open treasure chests yourself. And yeah, it's true, but come on, it's a JRPG on the PlayStation 1 with a 2-player mode. What other game in 1999 could claim to have multiplayer as a feature? And if any of you are about to smugly mention the special Charlie's Angels edition of Final Fantasy VIII, then, well, fine, I'll give you that one. But you wanna know what's crazy? Legend of Mana wasn't officially released in Europe. I only managed to play it by using a pirated copy. But that also meant that the game was NTSC, not PAL. And with us not having a TV that could handle that format, I had to play this colorful game in black and white. That just seems so hard to believe these days, but I had no other options back then. I still found it immersive, but this was surely not how the game was supposed to be played. Good thing these issues are not really a common problem anymore. And hey, the game had received a remastered edition, which is available on all sorts of platforms with improved graphics, including some video sequences from the upcoming anime series. The remaster seems fine to me for the most part. My biggest annoyances mostly come from certain stuff like the remastered soundtrack, but the options menu lets you select the original, so as much as I dislike the new boss theme, I am able to go back to the original, so no real harm done. Anyway, I might as well start wrapping things up. I'm sure this video wasn't very entertaining. It was just me gushing about my first RPG game in a very chaotic way, while not being that funny, and for that I apologize. This game holds a lot of importance to me, so it wasn't as easy to talk about. I could have made a real review, but there's so many better ones to look at, so I decided to speak from a more personal perspective and how this game helped shape me as a gamer. Heck, maybe even as a person, given all the anthropomorphic characters. Perhaps it's ridiculous to say that without this game my life would have been totally different. A lot of things would be true about me regardless. I could have gotten into other JRPGs at a later time with something else becoming my first one, but I am really glad that it was Legend of Mana. A fun game that's simple at its core, but contains a lot of depth. I wanted to complete the game 100%, see all that the world had to offer, complete all the quests, obtain all the weapon techniques, raise some super awesome monsters, which was really reflective of what I'd end up doing these days in Final Fantasy XIV. Kevin had to button mash and collect artifacts so that Farrell could collect minions, triple triad cards, clear the Lubrum Reginae Savage, and get all of the Eureka weapons.
You what?
Undeniably, Legend of Mana managed to scratch an itch before I knew I had it. I likely won't ever play through the entire remastered version of the game due to my extensive backlog and how busy I am. But I'm okay with just spreading the word on what a great game it is and what it means to me. Thank you for listening. Wow, after so many years, I finally talked about Legend of Mana. This is incredible. Perhaps I should tackle more overdue topics like these. Were there any other projects that I've been meaning to get to for ages but never did? Nope, nothing comes to mind. Oh well, I'm sure I'll come up with something. Until then, have a wonderful day.